What happens when you had a past with your new boyfriend, but he didn't know you had a past?
Awkward.
Yeah, maybe you're scratching your head.
When you need advice, come to Ben and Kelly. It's Group Therapy on 99.7 DJX.
So this message said I graduated from high school almost 10 years ago. Since then, I've lost 50 pounds. I go by my formal name rather than my nickname as I did in high school. Recently, I ran into a former teacher at a bar.
Oh.
He struck up a conversation with me, and I quickly realized he didn't recognize or potentially remember me. We hit it off. He invited me back to his place, and because I felt deeply attracted to him, I stayed over.
Ah.
It never seemed like a good time to tell him I was a former student of his, so I took the coward's way out and didn't.
Okay.
Now he wants to take me on a proper date. And I know I have to tell him about my kind of lie by omission, but I'm struggling to find the right words. Any advice?
I mean, does she have to?
Well, I feel like if there's a potential to have a relationship with this guy, to keep dating him, I feel like yes, right?
Man, I feel like we've had a lot of these teacher-student sort of group therapies.
I know. Like if he was a teacher in her school, maybe, but he was her teacher.
Well, and it's not like
I feel like that's significant.
It's not like they're in high school anymore. It's been 10 years.
No,
so it's
I know,
like, you do you, baby boo. You know, like, I mean,
I know.
I don't know.
But I feel like it's going to come out at some point, and then he's going to feel real, like, awkward about it.
I mean, maybe. Or maybe not. Like I've said on the show before, my ex-girlfriend in high school, the very next guy she ended up dating and then wound up marrying, and they're still married to this day, was our art teacher.
Wow.
Like
but he knew though that she was a student, right?
Yeah, but I guess my point is, just because it's teacher student doesn't necessarily mean he's going to immediately like say, "Oh no, this is no good."
No, I understand that, but it's a question of being honest. Like she knows who he is, and she needs to clue him into the fact that, hey, fun fact, I was once your student.
All right, so who's dated their teacher and they didn't know? So tell us how that worked for you, what you did, because maybe this will help our listener in this situation with group therapy, okay?
Oh, wow.
All right, 502-571-9970. Your response and calls coming up here next. So 10 years ago, she was his high school student. Now she's lost some weight, looks a little different, hooked up with her former teacher.
He doesn't know that he was her former teacher.
Right, exactly.
So now that he wants to take her out on a proper date, she's like, oh, I feel like I need to tell him, but how?
Yeah, Rachel.
In her case, she should, because if it turns into anything, it's like starting off with a lie, and if they can't move past that, then, I mean, the whole thing's built on withheld information, which is therefore a lie.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to start a relationship on a lie, but, you know, who knows? It could be just them having fun, and it's like, what? And maybe that's the bigger question. It's like, okay, you've got a past. Everybody does. At what point do you just unload some of that past, you know?
Well, this is unique in the fact that they have a connection in their past, but he's unaware of it right now.
Yeah.
Christine, Haley, Brittany, they all kind of came up with this genius plan. And so did a couple of people on Facebook. Alyssa said, find a way to bring up where you went to high school. And then when he hopefully says, oh, I used to teach there. And, oh my gosh, crazy, you were my teacher. Oh, well, how's dinner?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Melissa said the same thing. Hey, I wasn't sure that night, but I checked my yearbooks and you were one of my teachers. I hope that doesn't make it weird, but isn't that crazy? Oh my gosh, what a small world.
And, you know, maybe him being a guy would believe the fact that she didn't already know.
Exactly. I feel like, you know, she just kind of discovers it like along, you know, kind of make it seem like she didn't know right off the bat either. And then like, oh my gosh, it's been 10 years and oh, I thought you looked familiar. Wow.
We got to get to Trina's story, who she knows of this very thing happening and the results Coming up here in just a moment. Dating the old teacher, but he doesn't know.
Yeah, and then how do we tell him? Because we feel like we should tell him now that we're going to go on a proper date.
Yeah, Trina's got a story. We'll get to her here in just a quick sec. Another listener chimed in. I dated a law professor during the summer break after my first year. She had 20 years on me and was not someone I would have considered attractive at that stage of my life. It would be safe to say she was not well liked by most students. Well, anyway, she had just gone through a very brutal and very public divorce. As I was walking out of class, she was standing at the lectern with a 1,000-yard stare and looking utterly dejected. I talked her into hitting the bar with some other students and a couple of professors. She got loose. I got loose.
Oh, boy.
We spent the next 3 months tooling around and having fun. I blew off a summer internship to mess around, which is probably why I ended up being a career public attorney, or not. Looking back, it was one of the happiest and most satisfying parts of my life.
Wow.
Interesting story.
Okay, then.
Dang.
We did get a text message. I'm a teacher. I would want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what if she was a bad student and he doesn't have the best memories of her? Doesn't sound like that's the case, but still, I feel like, yes, full transparency is probably best.
Yeah, I guess if you're a teacher of a former student, and I mean, I think he probably already knows.
You think?
Maybe. I mean, she did say she lost a lot of weight and she looks a little different, and she goes
and she's
by
using her formal name, not a nickname.
All right,
yeah.
well, maybe that's fine. All right, Trina, what's your story?
I never dated a teacher, but when I was in high school, we had a substitute teacher who was dating a senior. They were in a relationship as she was a senior, and they are married and have been. I've been out of school for 20 years and have been married and have, I think, 4 or 5 kids together now.
Wow.
So I don't think it was so, at that point it was weird, but it's been 10 years for these two, so I don't think it's weird. And I think her insecurities about telling him are much more her insecurities about her self-esteem than it is about him knowing the truth.
Like, he's gonna, as soon as she says something, he'll remember the awkward, maybe a little more overweight high school version of, what she was.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that, I really like what several people suggested, and you kind of like get there. Like, I thought that you look familiar, and I looked it up, and oh my gosh, you were my teacher. Isn't that crazy?
Kind of just like, oh, wow, what a coincidence.
Like she just figured it out.
Yeah, small world.
Yes.
All right. Well, take that approach. Let us know what happens, especially. And again, do we do that? Do we divulge it on this second date?
Yeah, I feel like we do.
Okay.
Because I've already had one encounter, and she can just be genuinely like, you know what? You thought you looked familiar, and I looked it up, and oh my gosh, isn't that crazy? What do you think of that?
All right.
And then it shouldn't be a big deal because it's 10 years removed from school.
All right. Well, keep us posted on it. Thank you for letting us in on your little dramatic life there, and hopefully it all works out for you. That's group therapy.